Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the EUphoria podcast ahead of week 3 of the LEC 2025 Spring Split. As always, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, it's all there.
Yeah, and we got Jojopyun and Myrwn for the MKOI boys to take us all through what their updates are this week in the LEC, what they expect in the upcoming splits, and a little bit of spice to come through as well.
I'd say more than a little bit of spice. A lot of hot topics coming in this episode. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss it. All right, my distinct pleasure, Myrwn Jojopyun on the podcast. One fun fact before we start.
Okay.
Did you watch the Travis Gafford quiz where your name was a part of the quiz last year?
No.
Most casters in your region could not guess that John Joseph Pune was you.
No, Joseph June Pune.
Joseph June Pune was you.
They didn't
most of them could not figure out that was you. They were like, I don't know, which player's name is that?
Really?
I might be misquoting. Might have just been Kobe. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
It's literally in my name.
It's literally in your name. So that's my completely random side story. Welcome you both to the podcast. We're going to just hot drop you guys in because it's been a long day of League of Legends. So we'll just get right into the meat and potatoes of the podcast. This first segment is called Coping or Hoping. It's very simple. We're going to share with you a statement. We'll talk about it. Is it coping or hoping? So coping, bad, don't agree. Hoping, yeah, I'm optimistic. It's a good statement.
Yeah.
This first one will be confusing because coping or hoping is a work in progress statement.
He never writes the statements in the form of coping or hoping. They are just statements.
Okay.
They're just hot takes, and I don't know what to call the segment. So if you have suggestions, let us know in the comments. Statement 1. Which is actually statement 2, Anna. Anna's our producer. MKOI will not break top 3. Will not make it into top 3.
Like regular season or playoffs?
I think playoffs is the more important.
Yeah.
Regular season, it's a gateway to playoffs. So I think at the end of spring, and for context here, there's a lot of MKOI haters out there. People are really, really preying on your downfall.
Is there?
Yeah.
I just know there's really passionate fans and there's on both sides, so that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I
they
think
either love you to death or they
Yeah.
just want you to feel,
Your PR training is crazy.
Crazy answer.
Was that PR?
I just know there's a lot of passion on both sides. Yeah, bro.
I mean, what do you think, Myrwn?
I mean, it's like in every big fan base.
Yeah.
I think there's like both ways, It's like really passionate fans that it's what you said, It's both. They can like you a lot, they can hate you a lot. Maybe one day you're the best player alive.
It's true.
Maybe you have a bad series the next time and you're the worst player to ever play League of Legends. But that's just life sometimes, So
Which is why I'm really glad that you guys just came off a really good series
Yeah.
for his team Heretics. I think much needed win.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at least for top 3. I mean, I understand people saying that because last splits we didn't get top 3, And then I think we didn't show the results we wanted to show. But I think this split for sure, if we keep up how we're practicing and we keep on improving on the things we have to improve on, I think top 3 should be guaranteed.
Who are you pushing out? I think that's the big question on my mind. And because when I look at it, I think people are pretty ready for KCG2. And then, look, I'm going to be real with you. Fnatic's a flip. We'll have another statement about them soon. But I think it's like, so which of those teams are you beating out? Because that's the hard question.
I mean, to be honest, for me, I would say it's Fnatic. That's the odd one out. And I think then if I had to choose, probably KC. I think G2 in the top 3 just makes sense. G2.
Yeah.
I think KC is a good team, but I think they are kind of one-dimensional in a way. And they're really good at that style. So I think teams are starting to figure that out a bit more. But how they play around dragons and all this is very good. But I think they don't have much options, at least for now. So I'd say it goes Fnatic is the odd one out, and then KC.
Yeah. Interesting that like KC winning the split, but I think that still makes sense that there's that faith in G2. They've also just, I think, obviously KC did just lose to Fnatic. So a little bit easier to have faith in G2. But I think the journey from winter to spring to you guys is so important. I know I've been asked some of these questions already because you were just on PGL. So thanks again for coming on the podcast. But the big thing for me is like, what is the biggest improvement? I know winter was a tough one. It was a bit of an adjustment period, but you guys are coming in here with a lot of confidence. Like, what is the progress that you're seeing in practice that makes you so certain it's like, yeah, top 3, we can do it?
I mean, I would say our practice mostly this week was a big improvement compared to other weeks, honestly. Like, I think we were more stable, all of us. I think we actually learned a lot from the games. And I think it showed in the official that even though we didn't play really well, but I think we had a great showing. And all the things we're working on, it's not perfect, but we are improving them. And I think that kind of lead us to the win. So I would say that's the main reason.
Yeah, because it still feels like you have a ton of these unique picks. Like you're bringing out the Annie, you're bringing out the Aurora, which is a little bit more kind of around the place. But within that practice, is it like this is the foundation we're trying to work on and like these funky picks can still fit in it? Or is it much more of a like, how are you trying to cater for some of these unique champions that you're bringing out?
I mean, how I work with the picks, last split and this one, I wanted to first master the meta champs, kind of. So for example, the Rumble. I think now I'm playing really well Rumble and last split Ambessa, Casante, all of this. And then I will get into my picks. And I think it's now I'm really chill with all the meta champions. I'm comfortable, so now I can bring everything.
Yeah, because your flash snipe on the Rumble today, when you picked off the mid laner, was sick.
I didn't even see that. Was it crazy or what?
I mean, it was fine.
It was just okay.
For sure, it looked good on the game, but I think it's not something hard to do. It was a good play in general, like how we're contesting that zone, Then they got punished for 1 second into a Rumble. And then use two free kills.
So what's the biggest thing that, like, I think I asked this last week to Nuke, so I'll ask it to you guys too. If there's like one issue that if you just woke up tomorrow and solved that would like change your gameplay. So what's like the biggest thing that if you could just solve it right now, you'd be like, bam, instant top team?
I mean, honestly, I would say it's what we've been working on. Just a lot of games we just didn't really have an objective and just played too much for kills and too much random fights happening.
Yeah.
So this week we really emphasized not to like just tunnel vision playing for objectives, but have that in our mind and keep thinking about it and all these things. So that was, I think, one of the biggest problems, because when we know what to play for, we know what's happening on the map. Of course, the fights are going to make more sense that we choose to fight and it won't be more random. So I would say it's that, and we're also working on it. So that's a really good thing, but I would say it's that.
So sorry, I was going to say, it also feels like you kind of got hard done by the schedule, because you come in, it's immediately G2 and KC, right? So when you're still trying to find your footing or improve, they're not exactly the easiest opponents to go up against.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what do you think, Myrwn? At least for me, KC, game 3, it was so free. That's one of the another things, if I could fix, would be us not throwing such big leads. I think we had like a 7k gold lead game 3. It was really one. And then we're just trying to like solve a math equation and do something so fancy when the answer is like basic math is basic, so it's like...
Is that the same problem, like the problem you mentioned before, where it's like you guys are playing through kills or like don't have a clear game plan? Or is that like a different issue on top of it where you guys are just getting too, I guess, lost in the sauce? Yeah.
I would say, what do you think?
I would say it's different, because it's not like we're playing for kills. I think we're making it too difficult. When we're 7k gold ahead, I think you can literally use group as 5. And if you press buttons, people will die, and you will just win. And I think in that play, we're doing like so many things at once.
We're doing so many things. It was crazy.
You're going top while Super's going mid, care guys, I don't know. And then it's like, I'm tipping mid, I'm just dying instantly. And then they get Super, and then they kind of come back the game. Then we back up again. And it was kind of a chain of events. So I would say those two things. I think now we're playing way more with discipline, and we're not playing for kills that much, honestly. We're playing a lot around objectives, and I think the games are way more controlled. So I think we're making some good improvement.
Look, steady improvement. I'm excited to hear it. And you've kind of gotten through the worst of it, right? For the schedule for the most part. So I think I don't want to say smooth sailing, because I've said that about Fnatic and they've thrown some games. And I've said that for different generations of MKOI that you were not here for, brother. And it has been the same thing. I think it's like a curse that a lot of teams seem to be going through. And on the subject of throwing games, our next statement is, this is the year Fnatic will win a split. Rob, I want to go to you first, because I know this sounds like a personal attack to you. I promise you it's not. They beat KC, brother. Come on.
And they lost to SK. I do. So I think that I don't know is the honest answer. Like, I think the thing when I watch Fnatic is I can see the improvements that they've made from winter, right? Like when I watched the game versus KC, I think it was game 3, I was like, oh wait, Humanoid is like at the wave he's supposed to be at, and he's catching the wave he's supposed to be. He's pushing it, and now they've got a much better objective set up. And those were things that were missing from Fnatic's plans in the last year even. So I think I can definitely see the small improvements that they are making. It's just a case of, are they going to improve quick enough to get to that point? Because what we had like Grabs on the podcasts in winter, and he just said after 4 weeks, the lads forget everything we just said. So it's just like, are they going to be able to cohesively keep it all together? Because we've seen Fnatic make some of these improvements and start to get better, and then it just starts to slowly but surely slip into old habits.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest worry for them. But if they are going to be able to keep these, like, I can see the work that they're putting in behind the scenes, and you're starting to come onto stage, and I think it's the reason that they beat KC. So I'm excited to see if that continues. It's just hard for me to 100% say it's going to stick after been, well, honestly, let down so many times.
Yeah, what's your guys' read on Fnatic? Because I think we're really close to the fan perspective, which is based, mostly on those stage games and those big failures. But you guys obviously get more chances to play against them, to scrim them. So what do you think is like, how do you feel about this team? Should they be a reliable contender, or are they kind of just floating in the middle of the pack?
I think they are just so volatile as a team. Like, I think they have one game plan always, and I think for regular season it always works for them, but I think in playoffs they try many things. Like, they usually specialize on one type of comp and a small champion pool, and they get really good at it. But I think in Fearless, I think that's kind of counter them. And I think also, it's kind of what I said, I think they have one mode of gameplay, and I think you actually react well to it and you play around it. I think you should be chilling to Fnatic. Of course, they can surprise you, if you don't play according to that. That's the strength, no? Like, if they specialize at something and they are just way better at compared to enemies doing that, they will win.
So why volatile? Volatile because if they pick the wrong comp to focus on, it doesn't work. Volatile because if they don't have that comp, it's all crap. Like, what do you mean when you say volatile?
It's volatile because they just like to fight too much.
I mean, they had the same problem we had last, but
yeah.
We see champions on our screen, we're fighting to the death, and that's basically Fnatic too. So I would say,
like, you see someone in mid, midway.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering if you guys are going to have a vastly different perspective, but I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I think the sentiment is echoed publicly where, like, people just have trust issues with this team at this point, because on paper, again, like, the roster should be so good.
Yeah.
But then you get the same shit, different split, where it's, again, lose to SK, win versus KC.
But like, even in the wins against KC, there was a couple of times where it's like that. It's just like the bull, and you've got the little red flag. You're like, they're gonna go for it, and like Mickey got caught out in weird positions. There was still one or two throws. You're just like, all right, lads, like, you still got that in you, and that's where I'm just like, I don't know if I can fully trust them.
yeah.
In some ways, it does remind me a lot of you guys. And like, so what has been the secret for you guys to find that discipline, not to just go for those plays in the moment? Because I think last year's MKOI, which you obviously weren't a part of, we always praised you guys for your early game, especially in that first winter split. And part of that was you guys were crazy aggressive. I think you caught a lot of teams out guard. Now, obviously, you want to keep some of that aggression, but refine it. What's that process like to stop that early LPL, see hero, kill hero kind of mentality?
I think it comes from scrims, to be honest, because the way practicing scrims, I think, shows on stage. And I think the way we've been scrimming in the past hasn't been as disciplined as now. So it's a discipline thing we talked about, I think we've been practicing and we put effort to be much more disciplined in scrims, and then it showed on stage. So maybe for Fnatic, they just don't see it as an issue, and maybe they see it as like, oh, it's a strength because it can catch teams off guard. But at least for us, we know that if we control it, we can use it to our advantage and use our aggression well. But at the same time, we have to also know when it's bad. And I think you can only know that from keeping on practicing and putting efforts in it. So I think that's the secret.
What does that kind of forcing people to be more focused in scrims look like? Like, is it just Zeph coming into the room and like screaming at you and going like, get the shit together, lads? Or is it within the team there's someone who's a bit more vocal saying, okay, lads, no, we're slipping? Like, is there a large voice on the squad who kind of takes on that?
Yeah, Melfet.
Okay.
Even if he's at home.
You can still hear him in Berlin.
Yeah, I mean, it just, we do some bad games, we didn't behave the best in a screen, weren't really disciplined, you know what's coming. You just go into the sofa, you see the screen, Melfet unmuted, you know it's coming.
But I would say it's from the players too. I think the players are actively trying to really put emphasis on it too. Yeah. So I would not say it's just the coaches or the staff, but I would say it's everyone involved. We all want to fix that problem. So I think it's much easier to do instead of just one coach thinking it or one player thinking it. And then,
How is this compared, what you guys are trying now, to like experiences that you've had on different teams? Because I think this is a struggle a lot of teams have, right? Like, depending on how many blocks you're playing, whether it's multiple 3-game blocks or 5-game blocks or whatever, like by the time you hit game 5, been in a lot of houses for game 5. Game 5 looks like shit. I have not seen a lot of good game 5s in a scrim block, right? Like game five, if you make it to game 5 usually looks bad for the 20 or 30 days of scrims I've seen face to face in my career. What is that like? How do you guys ensure that that's there? How has it been different across different teams?
I think depends a lot on how you use the break, because, for example, now the scrims is a block of 3 games, 40 to 1 hour. I don't know how much time it is. 40-minute break kind of, into 3 more games. And I think if you actually use the break to reset mentally, like eat something, eat a snack, do mobility, maybe you need to take a nap that day, and you come with energy to the next block, you will do it way better. I think a lot of teams just play a solo queue, and then of course, I think that just won't help you at all. So I think just depends how you use the break. I think, for example, not always, but I think we're doing a great effort for the last games to actually we get something from the games.
Yeah, to be honest, it's kind of funny because this week our game 5s, I'm pretty sure our last games have been pretty good, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's our game 1s that are usually the worst. And then we kind of wake up and
one or the other.
Yeah, it's one or the other. And then our game 6s and game 5s have been good. So yeah, I would just say, honestly, it's about perspective. Like we just say, it's our last game. We can make it useful, or we could just, do what the enemies are doing, because a lot of the enemy teams will just run it down game 5 too. And you can easily fall into that trap and just fight everything, or you can just be more disciplined like we're talking about. So it is on us. So I think that's how we make it more useful.
How do you take those learnings from a game 5 like that are just so messy? Like, is it just, hey, look, we're going to understand that this is how we're going to set up the map, and it's just practicing running that rotation over and over again? Or is there something else that you can glean from just a messy game like that?
I mean, I think, honestly, I think game 5s are a bit over exaggerated. Like the game 5s that are bad is really bad, but I wouldn't say it happens too often, honestly.
Yeah.
I would say usually it's the same as a normal game, but let's say both teams are tired or it's just been a clown fiesta the whole game, then it'll be bad. But I'd say that's maybe once every week maybe. So when it does happen, I mean, you just have to not fall into the trap. Like you see the champions on your screen, they're looking really juicy for no reason, and you're bored or you're tired, whatever the excuse is, and you just want to fight. So we understand that really well, and I think that's how we're making it useful. And I think for the objectives, it just depends on the day. I think whatever objective we focus on the day, we still have that same objective until game 5, so it's still the same.
Yeah. Our final statement. This one's going to hit home, Myrwn. We'll see how you feel about it. EU top laners shouldn't play Jace. Might be outdated by now. Is this true, false, coping, hoping? I forgot entirely to do the coping, hoping thing. I'm sorry. We're gonna find a new name for the segment because clearly it doesn't make any sense. But this is a statement that has existed. The same has been for NA Jace or whatever. Then we get maybe one good international game and people are like, times are changing. And then we're right back on the next fumble. Yeah. But is the era of like EU top laners shouldn't play Jace finally open? Is EU Jace is finally a threat? Are EU top laners able to play these really volatile kind of champions?
I mean, the best Jace is Kana.
He is.
I think that's the answer.
He is.
As sure as Jojopyun and I are European, so too is Kana.
So that counts.
We'll take it.
I mean, I think it's his best champ, and he plays it really, really well. Like, for example, the game we had into Casey, I was really ahead, and yet he did a really good game where even if we were camping him on farming gold, he recovered really easy. Yeah. So I think it's one of his strengths. I think he's really good on Jace. But I think we also had a lot of Jace. Like, for example, I think myself last year on Jace I was pretty good, even though I'm not playing it that much now. But I think last year I was pretty good on Jace. And I think it's like, it depends a lot. Like, for sure, when Jace spawns out, like, for sure, at some point of the year, Jace spawns out of nowhere, okay? For like all the world. Like, maybe they don't change anything, but he will just spawn randomly. And that's when all top laners spam Jace, and you actually see that the level of Jace is pretty good. But I think if you drop the champion and you don't play that much, it looks pretty bad.
Why is he spawning out of nowhere? Like, what is is this solo queue? Do you think it's just like solo queue? Someone's doing like Jace hits a win rate spike and then someone sees it and takes it into scrims? Is it just like one Korean top laner plays it? Is it like a lol Dobby video? Because it has to spawn from somewhere, Myrwn. You have more information than I do. Like, where does this come from?
I mean, Thef once told me, when Jace tank was played, he told me that his theory about Jace tank being played is someone in TFT played Jace frontline, because if you put him frontline, he goes to melee form, and he played with tank items, and he said, what about LEC? So, okay, so that's my day by day with Thef on the team. I just wanted to share it, Like, for sure it's not that,
He's a genius.
But, yeah.
I mean, you could call that. You could say that. Yeah.
It was correct though, which is what's insane. How? Damn. All right. Well, credit to him, man. That was everything about the lead up into the conclusion was wrong, but he was right. Jace was broken as hell.
I need to try Gwyncy's Rage Blade Bloodthirster Gragas, I think.
That would go crazy,
You could try it. Let me know how it goes.
I mean, I guess the other question for me is beyond just Jace, like, do you think that the caliber of top laners are getting stronger? Because I'm pretty optimistic about that. I think that, like, you last year had niche picks, and it felt like niche picks and, like, a Cassante, right? And this year, you said it, and I think we saw it in winter. Your Mbessa was sick. You're better at the standard picks. You're bringing that more. So I feel optimistic about it. You as a top laner. BB's been stepping up, and obviously Kana is doing well, which is important to note because he was fine individually last year, but obviously Casey was kind of a dumpster fire last year. So I think reminding everyone that he's a good top laner is important. And like between the three of you, I feel like we have a pretty strong top lane pool. Oscar also, I think, doing pretty well in a decent number of games. But are we on to the point where, like, if we go international and you lock Fiora, I'm feeling good? Or do we need a bit more time?
That's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, because there's a lot of champions like Jace, the Fioras of the world, those weird niche counter picks that I think are like exclusive to Zeus and LPL top laners.
Because, correct me if I don't really feel like it's an individual player problem. I think it's more the, like, how the team sets it up for success and how that all operates and how you move him around. Like for Jace, at least anyway, it's like how you can enable him in a lot of situations. I think that's where we were kind of lacking more on an international stage was how do we actually utilize this Jace as best we can? And then Fiora is even worse than that when it comes to for trying to organize. So
I mean, Fiora now it's unplayable, literally. It just... I mean, I wish Fiora could be playable. Like, it's such a fun champion, but I think now it's really, really weak. Only maybe good into Cassante now. And Camille Blind, kind of something like this, but it's not really good.
Yeah.
But I think this year the top lane level improved a lot. Like, I think all the new players like Nako is really good, even though, like, he had a 0-9 Yasuo game.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen kind of like he had that one good series, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna let this boy cook every draft." And then I was like, "Whoa, okay, let's bring it back a little bit."
I mean, in my opinion, he's the Mr. Aura King. He just farms Aura and screams on cooldown. And he's just like that, He does ego check because he's mechanically really good. Yeah. I respect it. And, in official, you sometimes go 0-9, when you have that.
It's just one of those days,
Yeah, it's just a bad day. But I mean, he's really good, honestly. And Adam is playing really well.
Yeah.
So I would say every top laner, the level improved. Like Lot played really well too. I think Janax is doing fine. I think all of the top laners are playing really well, honestly.
Where do you think it comes from? Just to kind of close this conversation out, what do you think is like the biggest thing that's contributed to top laners getting better? Is it just more top laners coming in? Is it a change in the meta? Like, why now? Because I'll be honest, from the time before you were even in the league, like EU top lane has, I think, been considered our weakest role for probably like 5 years. And so what's changing now that we're suddenly getting? Is it just new blood? What's different now?
I think it's a mix of everything, because I would say all new players are really tryhard. And I think that makes that there's always a competition between all of us, and that just pushes you to a new level, kind of. So I think it's the mentality and new blood, of course. Like, I can imagine BB seeing all these rookies, while he's the best. And like, for example, now Kana is kind of the best. Like for him, he wants to get that like title back, kind of.
Yeah,
and I think that's the same for everyone. I think everyone wants to be the best, and everyone between themselves will raise up their level, and I think that's great for us, at least.
Yeah, it's good progress to see, and hopefully, I actually don't want to see anyone play Jace. I find Jace very boring. But
I agree, that champion.
I would take it over Cassante at the very least. Please nerf him one more time. His W doesn't need to make him unstoppable. You know it will take him out of the game permanently, balanced team, but you don't want to do it. You're too scared. So that's a personal thing otherwise. Let's shift over to community questions. We asked on Twitter and the YouTube community tab some questions from people, and we got a lot of stuff. We'll ignore the part where I ask you to freestyle. So first, NuiK07, this is on YouTube, says, so it's a long question. Why do so many teams, I feel like mostly in EU, struggle with consistency? Also, why do so few players stream, even if they're streaming without commentary? Could it maybe hold them more accountable for the level of play that they display and might improve the consistency long term? So 2 questions there. We'll start with the second. We'll work back to consistency overall. But do you think that like streaming and playing your game live could have a positive effect on your performance? Like, let's just say solo queue. We don't need to go into the whole scrims thing. Does that like help you play better solo queue if other people are watching?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the opposite, to be honest, because it's in the back of your mind. You're streaming. You want to see what the chat's saying. You want to entertain them if your mic is on. Or if you do gameplay only, then it's still in the back of your head a bit, you know? I think for me, what makes sense is that I don't really stream in the season and I'm focused on improving. And then in the off season is when I stream and I'm much more like talking with the chat, talking with the fans and all this stuff. But I do think more players should stream. I used to never stream too, and I would just make excuses like, oh, I don't know this or that. But I think there's no downside, to be honest. And once you start, it's pretty fun, to be honest. And I think streaming in the season is also good. I think it just depends on the players, to be honest, because I hear some players, they like streaming during the season. They can focus on their gameplay anyways. But for me, I'd rather just focus on my gameplay alone and not the stream, and then in the off season. Yeah.
How about for you, Myrwn?
For me, I always found really hard to stream during the season because I was like maybe too tired or whatever. And I feel like I couldn't really entertain people. But I think now I'm just trying some days I'm streaming with Mike. Like, for example, the other day I duo with Supa and we were just chilling on stream. Yesterday I did a stream without Mike and it was chill, you know? Like, I'm sometimes typing in the chat, not always like entertaining, but the games were fun, you know?
Yeah.
And I think actually streaming, like, for example, I'm tired. I will have to focus kind of more and it will help me long term to improve my focus and everything. So I think it kind of depends how you use it, you know?
Yeah.
And I can see for other players that it's hard to stream. I see it's something good to build your community. I think everyone should try it at least. Like, maybe it's not for every player, you know? But it's good to give it a try, honestly.
So I guess the follow-up is it sounds like both of you find value in streaming, but it doesn't sound like either of you would stream during your regular practice, right? It's just kind of in your own time that you would supplement with streaming, or an off season that you supplement. It doesn't sound like you're streaming a scrim block, or like I assume you have to practice or do a certain amount of solo queue games per day. You're probably not streaming during those games.
Yeah, I mean, I think streaming during scrims, I mean, I see it for the content. You know, it's fun, especially Los Rotones and all these new streaming teams. I think in the LEC, I mean, if teams want to do it, that's up to them, to be honest. If those two teams do it, there's nothing wrong with that. But how I see it, we're trying to improve on this stuff. And I think there's too much leaks to be shown because people could see how the comms are or what your plan is or how you guys see the game. So I think it just doesn't make much sense in a competitive aspect. But obviously for the content and all this, it'll get a lot of views, content, right? So there is pros, there is cons to it. But for me, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of streaming scrims, honestly. We've never really tried. Apart from like in the bootcamp, we did at the start of the year one game.
That went disaster, by the way.
It was disaster. It was like 40-minute waiting for Hansama because he entered a solo queue when we were supposed to play like an in-house. And then Hansama just didn't come. We needed to wait for another AD carry. Then we played and we got shit stomped. It was like the worst game ever.
Yeah, that does not sound good for the mental.
Yeah. I mean, it's more like we just become content mode on the inside when we're streaming, you know? We're not as try hard, so it's like, it's not really useful, you know? It's good for the fans to watch, of course, but...
I get it. It's hard. You can't fake the more serious, like, circumstances, right? If it's a scrim and it's a practice and you know no one's watching, you're trying to treat it like practice, right? If you're on stage, you're going to treat it like stage. It feels different. It's hard to trick your brain into being like, we're not playing a for fun game right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like if you're trying to work on like discipline and making sure you're all fine, and then you see a guy that's there, it's like, oh, this would make great content. Like, has to be a spark in your brain somewhere to just immediately go for it. So, yeah, I think it's even if as a team, I'm trying to work on something and say we mess it up 8 times in a row, watching the entire chat just lose their shit and go, oh my God, these guys are so terrible. Why couldn't they get it right? It's like, no, sometimes these things are difficult to try and set up and get working on. Yeah. So I think that's more from like that perspective. I don't think as a team, I'd want my stuff to be streamed, especially when I'm trying to work on things. It's just like, well, no, we want to work at it as a team. We don't need these outside voices putting us all down the whole time we're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it would be tough. I don't think I could handle that kind of additional pressure. I can't play without a stream on. So that's just too much for me. Our next question comes from YourKeto2 at YourKeto_ from Twitter. They want to know how everything is going without Melzet there. Now, you said he's on a call, but and if practice is different with Zeph and Hansen. And also shout out to Melzet for being a dad. Congratulations to him. So cool that he's juggling fatherhood and, I mean, it's double fatherhood, right? He's got to come in and yell at one set of kids, and he's got to go home and raise the other. So what is it with him being remote? Has that changed like the vibe, the atmosphere at all?
I mean, it changed because you don't see him in the day by day. Still, I think he's doing a really big effort, even though he's going to be a dad soon. And he has to like take care of things. And he's home, you know. He's doing a really big effort to always be there for us. We can always ask him about anything. And I think it's more difficult because he's not here. But I think still with the effort he's doing and everything, it's kind of chill, you know. I think also Zeph and Hansen are doing a great job. Like, for example, this week they were really sick. And it was everything on like online through Discord, but it was fine. I think it was kind of our best week, so I hope Zeph never comes to the office.
Yo, look, respect. Maybe that is the secret. Just remember that one of the best international performances EU has put up was 2016, and the secret for H2K was just to stop scrimming.
Really?
Yeah, but it's because they all hated each other. So
It was not a good time.
They were just so toxic in scrims. It was bad. Trust me. That is not an EU lesson you take to heart. I'm completely joking. Our next question comes from GX Jun Enjoyer with a little blue heart at half sleeps. This is very niche knowledge, so I don't know if this question is even valid, but we're going to ask it anyway. Does Jojopyun know the full lyrics to Danza Kudoro now?
I mean, it'll take too long.
Well, we have a freestyle question here.
I think I know how the beat goes and how the flow goes, but lyric-wise, no way. But I can kind of like hum it and I can do that, but I wouldn't know what they're saying.
It's like when weebs learn an anime song, but they don't really speak the language.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's basically
cool.
the same for me.
You're a weeb for Spanish. I think it's Spanish and Portuguese, right? The song?
Yeah, I think so.
I was going to say, what was that? It was a caramel dancing everyone thought was in English, and then they realized it was actually in like Finnish or something, but everyone just made up their own English lyrics to the song.
I don't know what song that is to me.
So. The last question, I'm actually going to fuse a couple questions together. I'm going to put you on the spot, Jojo. So apologies in advance. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have taken your flame, whether historic or current. And I could point to a specific question, but I'm not trying to give anyone special airtime for flaming. I don't want to encourage that behavior too much. But there's a lot of like, people really are preying on your downfall. There are people asking for apologies, because whether it's from previous flame or because you're coming in with a lot of confidence, like you seem very, very reasonable on a podcast face to face. Is the trash talk for fun? Like, what do you have to say, I guess, to the European fans who, I don't know, feel especially passionate about like you being here?
I mean, to me, any recognition is good recognition, to be honest. And of course, I'm doing it for content.
Sure.
And if I'm going to shit talk a region or other teams, I expect that they should shit talk back when I'm losing or I'm not playing well. So it's kind of expected. I think if I'm bantering and I'm trying to have fun and then I don't play well or we lose and then they don't say anything, it's kind of feels like bullying kind of. I don't know. It feels weird if they don't. So, I mean, I understand it, to be honest. And of course, like we said, there's going to be really passionate fans or there's going to be people preying on my downfall, like you said. But I think if you put yourself out there, no matter what, that's going to happen anyway. So you just have to accept it, to be honest. But for me, I don't mind too much because I understand that they're fans and they're really passionate. And I mean, I grew up, of course, loving basketball and loving sport. And of course, fans can be crazy. So I don't really...
We're having a... I mean, basketball... basketball's crazy.
And I think European fans are more passionate too about league. I would say the LEC. They're much more... I don't know what the word is. I guess passionate and dramatic when things go good or bad. So I kind of understand it much more now. So it doesn't really faze me. I think at first I was like surprised. I was shocked. Not in a bad way, but I was like, it's really different here. But now I'm more used to it and I understand how the things go. Kind of like what Myrwn said, you play really well one day, you're like the GOAT, you're the greatest player. The next day, you have a bad game, you're just the worst player alive, you know? And you kind of just accept that's how fans view you, you know?
Yeah. Do you feel like you've I know winter was a little bit tougher for you guys. Do you feel like you're living up to your own expectations right now? Are you hitting that level yet?
I don't think so. I mean, I think this week has been much better, but I think last splits and even the G2 KC games, for sure not. But I think today I felt more like myself, to be honest, and how I like to play the game. So I would say it's coming back, yeah.
Yeah. Where do you feel like approximate ranking? I don't want to do a full tier list. We don't have time. But like, where do you feel like you rank? Are you top 5? Are you top 4? Are you top 6? Like,
I mean, I think for my showing, I can't be at the top from what I've shown, but I know for my potential, I can easily contest the best, which I think is caps. But I mean, for me to say that with my showing, it sounds bad, and I understand that, but I know I can easily be the best. So,
what do you think it takes for you to get there? Like, what needs to shift?
I think I've been practicing much better, and I'm improving on the things I know I need to improve on. I think last split I wouldn't say I was much more delusional, but I thought I was better at things that I actually wasn't good at, and this split I'm putting effort in focusing on it. And I think Mel's is helping me a lot too, because I would just call him every day after scrims one-on-one, and we'll just review all our games together. And then I'll see what I'm doing wrong with like no bias, because it's a coach watching all my games. It's not me watching my own replays. So I would say that's helping me a lot, and I would say it's mostly that.
Do you have any like really clear examples? I know the risk is you give fuel to the fire for people who want to shit on you, but it would be cool to have something really tangible for the fans out there too to understand.
I would say my laning was always known to be good, and then a lot of my team fighting was how it was just not as good, and then I was just not as aware. So I think I've been really putting emphasis on my team fighting, and I mean I can go in much more detail about everything else, but I would say that's one of the like simple things that everyone can understand is just my team fighting, how I position, how I see the fights, how I use my spells, all this stuff.
How do you feel about your champ pool?
I think my champ pool,
I want to get personal here. This is for me. This is for the fans. How do you feel about your champ pool?
I mean, to be honest, last splits, all my champs that I was playing, it was like fine, you know? Like it's not even how I see my best champions.
Yeah.
But Azir Yone, we just thought was so OP, and it was always open. But to be honest, I mean, Myrwn already knows what champion I like playing the most, but we don't have to say it.
No, don't make anything.
I haven't even played it, you know? So I think...
No, 1 second. It doesn't matter the angle. It's always a good game for him. Like, it can be to the worst team competitor. It's going to be, it's good here.
Do me a solid. When he locks that champion, just look straight into that little camera that's at the top of your monitor and just nod at it. And then we'll know on the caster desk, be like, this is it. This is the thing we've been waiting for.
Yeah, because...
I will.
I mean, I think I haven't shown my champ pool at all, to be honest, which is honestly a good thing coming up. Obviously last split it sucked, but I haven't shown the champions that I really want to play, but I think I am good on the champions that I was practicing. Like my Yone used to be really bad actually. Last year I didn't even pick it because it was just my worst champion, and now it's like one of my only played champions because it's just strong and it's always open. So I would just say I choose the champions that are, and the coach chooses the champions that are good and open, which is usually, I mean, just the meta mid champions that everyone's picking, right? So
when we get to best of 5, we get to see more spice. Because my big thing is like Azir looked good last split. Boom, Yone felt like second priority. In this split, it's like Talia every time, which again, Talia's strong.
Which is crazy because Talia was also one of my worst champions. So I feel like my champions just shift a lot. But this splits, I feel like my champion pool, I can play all the meta champions pretty comfortably, whereas last splits, I didn't feel the same. And I think honestly, I'm just playing, it's just because I'm playing more solo queue. And yeah.
Yeah, because that's what in 2024, I was like, because you had like Nastises, Vaynes mid, you had a ton of stuff that you were bringing out. And that was kind of one of the things I was like, oh boy, this guy cooks. And now he's joining like Movistar Koi. Is like, it's about to go off. And then I was like, oh, we got like 3 picks. Like, I mean, it does make sense. These picks are really strong and it does work, right? But like, I think that was one of the big things that I was looking forward to seeing is just like how much you guys were going to bring to the table and all this kind of cool stuff. So it's nice to know that they're still there and ready in the back pocket.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when like game 4, like game 5 comes, it'll definitely come. Also, I think I'm convincing or giving my coaches much better advice on how I see the champions being played and how they see it. And it's much easier now in drafts too, because I think for some players, they don't like talking about draft with their coaches and they just don't want to overthink it. But for me, I really like talking with the coaches, prepping what I'm going to play, how the matchup is going to look. And I think I didn't put enough effort on that last split. So I think now it's much more easier I see what the coaches want me to play or the champs that I want to play.
I see you smiling. I remember you saying this exact same thing about your top lane picks, is it's like you need to explain how this shit works to your team, right? Like if you wanted to get picked.
I mean, it didn't happen with Danny because it was a pick that just spawned out of nowhere in the draft.
Okay, good to know.
But I mean, this week I did a presentation of a champion that I hope I can bring out soon. And usually if it's a weird champion, which has a different style that we are not used to play, I have to explain to my teammates. I kind of lead the game a bit to make it more comfortable for everyone. But if it's like, for example, I'm playing usually Varus or whatever, and I'm playing Corki, the gameplay is like kind of the same. Like both are really strong laners, and both kind of want to do the same. So it depends a lot, on the champion. I think if you are used to the same style, you don't need to explain that much. Only maybe team fights and how you want to play side or whatever. But it depends on the champion, basically.
Yeah, I'm ready for more spice. That was another very common question. I don't have one ready to go to give a specific person credit, but a lot of people were saying, when do we get more Myrwn spicy picks? I was happy with the Vex last season. But people want more. People are not satisfied. You're happy that you got good at Rumble and a conventional champ. A lot of Myrwn fans who are sad. They're like, no, get worse at those champs. Get better at the weird stuff. Bring more weird stuff out.
Hopefully soon there's some spicy picks. But I mean, we will see. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. Again, we QCAS can't give away too much. Don't want to take the rug out from under you either. I'm ready for some surprises. Let's talk about next week. It's kind of a weird week. There's not very many like top team versus top team kind of matchups. There's a lot of top team versus bottom teams, and there's a lot of like bottom of the table slugfests. I want to start by talking about G2, but the only game they have is versus Rogue, which I think is going to be pretty G2 favored, but I do want to get your takes on G2 as a whole.
I mean, Rogue has been looking pretty good the first 20 minutes, to be honest. And G2, yes, they're like obviously a top team, but I can see.
What are you doing, Jojopyun? What are you doing?
You look at the games that split Rogue, even they should have won today game one. Like
they should have.
First 20 minutes, they're looking like prime Gen G, prime T1. But they just can't close out games. It is what it is, So I think first G2, I won't be surprised if they're actually doing decent in the early game, but then I don't think they'll find a way to win the game. So I'll say it's a 2-0.
I have never felt a need to flame you until this moment, bro. If we clip out just that clip of you being like, first 20 minutes, they look like prime Gen G.
At least today, versus Giant X game one, I just saw them getting every single Drake. They were just snowballing the game, but they just can't close it out. I think that's their problem.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough. On the side of G2, like you guys put them as number one contender. Are they just a step ahead of everyone else? Like why is G2 the team that you guys are looking at the most?
I don't think they're a step ahead. I mean, we haven't scrimmed them too much. I think any of the top 4 teams can be a contender, but I think they're just they have a play style that's just not flip. They know how to play the sides well. They know their macro well, and their laning is good too. So I would say they don't really have a clear weakness where I could say other teams in the top have a clear weakness, which is why I feel like they're the most balanced top team. So that's why I'd put them at the top.
Myrwn, what's your take? Do you think the same?
I think they're a really strong team. It's kind of what you said, that they don't really have a weakness. It's like the more stable team of the top 4 by far. And I think that's why you never cannot count them out, kind of. Because I think at some point, like for example, last split, they started really bad, but after like some weeks of training, they actually got a really good playstyle. And I think it's kind of how it works for G2. So, I mean, we will see about the Rogue G2 game. I think if Rogue doesn't lose first game and mental boom, they actually have a chance. But I mean, I don't know. You see Rogue and it's like they lose first game. The next game, it's a stomp. Like they just get stomped. It's just crazy.
I agree. I noticed that too. Especially the first series they play, Adam playing out of his mind game one
like
into like the worst game 2 ever. It's like, yeah, I feel for them. That's a lot of pressure. But I guess, or Rob, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think the hard part for Rogue is just where I looked at G2 kind of slumping a little bit was jungle support and how they work together. But their last couple of games, they've looked absolutely fantastic. And I'm just like, where the hell was this all a sprinter? So it feels like so many of the pieces that I thought were going to be struggles for G2 are now getting solved, which, I mean, you always kind of expected it with G2. But like I tried to I don't actually have the stat, but like one of the things that I noticed was they just have way less like deep vision and stuff than they did last year. And our stats guys working on it for next week. But I think that was the only thing where I was like, oh yeah, maybe they just have less information to play with. And that's why some of their objective fights are a little messy in that. But even that seems to be getting solved as well. So it just feels like this constant train that's progressing. And honestly, I think at this stage, Rogue will probably just get run over. I think the problem is Rogue, they can have these good games, but it's like a flash in the pan and then it disappears.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because even I was watching, because I cast their game today, but I was watching their last series and I was like, holy crap, these guys play really well off the sidelines in this game. I think it was game 1 against Vitality or maybe game 2, I can't remember. But it's like, oh, these guys look sick. They really know how to do it. And then you watch them in game 1 today and it just all suddenly starts to fall apart where you're like, you did this really well at the start. Like, what happened? And I think that's the most frustrating part with Rogue is like, it never feels like you can believe that they're just going to be able to carry it across the line, despite the fact that they just did the right thing 3 minutes before this.
Which I think sadly is a story we're talking about with a lot of teams.
Mm.
Some weeks you guys aren't above this shit either, though. That's like the thing. It's like I wish I could say that this is like, oh, it's just one team, but that also happens to be the Fnatic story.
Yeah.
It's been the GX story a couple times, and your guys' worst moments. It's been your guys' story too. Like teams are really struggling to just consistently finish these games. But you guys talked about it. Some discipline, some more planning in the moment, and stop overcooking in the late game, I guess.
Yeah, stop trying to be a scientist.
Just sometimes it's okay to just hit things with a hammer and finish it, right? One more question on G2 before we move on to your guys' matchup versus BDS. What was different in that final versus KC? Because I think a lot of people, mostly KC fans, admittedly, are ready to be like, okay, KC's the best now. We're good. Continue to the next split. I think it's very reasonable to give G2 the benefit of doubt heading into the next split, but what if they don't have that clear weakness? Like, what was that weakness? Has something changed? Are they better now coming into spring, or do you just feel like that was just one day where they didn't really show up?
Yeah, I mean, I think KC is of course a strong team, but I think G2 just underperformed on the day, and I thought the drafts were pretty weird too. I think KC had winning drafts on all the 3 games, and they had drafts that KC really likes playing and they're comfortable with. So I thought the drafts were a big reason, but also I think G2 players underperformed and the KC players overperformed. But at the same time, it's not like such a big difference where like G2 is so much better than KC. I think it's pretty close, but I think, whoever performs better on the day on those teams would win, and KC did. So I think that's why it was that, and why it was a 3-0. I would say the drafts and also the momentum.
Yes.
G2 players were probably a bit like overthinking after game 2 or after game 1 after losing. So
I think that's plenty of an answer. Do you feel like the same? It's not really that there's been this huge monumental progression for G2. It's more just like you look back at that as like one day, one example.
And I think that KC played way better.
Yeah.
Like everything was working for them. You could see G2 really lost in the finals. I saw G2 kind of how we were last year into them in the finals in winter. So yeah, like maybe like for example, I mean I think all the team just underperform honestly. It's like probably in a different day, it would have been a 3-2 maybe. I still think KC, how they perform, if they just manage to keep that level, they will always win G2 in that final.
Yeah. If we play that best of 5 10 times in a row, how many times do you think G2 win that best of 5?
I mean, depends what the draft prep that they did.
Sure.
But let's say it's like the draft is even. I would say 7.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty commanding.
Yeah.
So it really was like a huge feat that KC stepped up that day and won.
I mean, I wasn't expecting like Urgot Fresh and the blind blitzcrank to come out. So I was just like looking at it there and stuff. And I'm just like, I think given the time, and also I think the improvements that G2 have, I think it's going to be it's definitely not going to be a 3-0. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how G2 do. But I think KC now you can see the cracks are forming, because you were kind of saying I think teams are starting to look at KC and figure out how they play, and I think you're starting to recognize that a little bit on stage too. So I think G2 next time around, I think it could actually be a G2 sided, or at least a lot closer than it was.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Thank you for following me down that rabbit hole. We didn't get to talk. You guys weren't on these episodes about G2 a lot in last week's episode, so I just want to make sure we gave them some time today. But now I want to talk about you guys, because you guys are playing a pretty important series versus BDS. I think BDS, a team that when we had Nuke on last week, it felt like, hey, they're fighting for top 6. I don't think they're quite as strong as they were last year, for sure. A lot of our bottom teams are really struggling, so they're starting to feel more like a sure thing for top 6. But how do you guys look at this matchup? How do you guys want to approach it again without giving too much away in terms of draft?
I mean, I think we always play pretty well against BDS, to be honest. I think for us, we just play our own game and we play what we're improving on and we'll win. For me, I think we don't focus too much on what BDS is going to do or their players. We just play how we want to play, and we should be just better. That's how I see it. So I think against BDS, we should be favored.
Is there a team where you wouldn't give that answer? like if you're going up against G2, would you? I mean, I want to clarify.
Against G2 or a top team, of course, it's still we're focusing on ourselves. But I think it's much easier to think, oh, we're against like a top team or all this stuff. So of course, the mindset should still be the same, but it's easier to say than to do.
Yeah.
Versus BDS, it's as easy as to say than as to do, you know? So,
fair. I'm not trying to get you to throw shade. I just want to make sure. Like, if you're going to give me a PR answer, I'm going to ask you a follow-up.
They are, I wouldn't say a good team, but they're a decent team. So if we're underperforming, we will lose. But if we play our game, we shouldn't lose.
Just right here, what are your thoughts on the Lucian mid? Because I kind of heard a bit of mixed bag and mixed feelings on things. You don't have to give too much away if it is, but I saw people kind of criticizing it, but I don't think it was a terrible position?
I mean, I think he just played the lane very weird. I didn't see too much of the laning, but I just saw that Lucian Tilly was even CS at 10 minutes and that he wasn't really pressuring him as much. So I thought, why would you pick Lucian if you can't even pressure the Tilly early game? Maybe he was pressuring, but I just saw the CS and I just watched a bit. So that's my thoughts on it. I think if you can snowball well as a team and you can play the map well as a team with his prio and play the objectives, play the grubs with Lucian, I think it can be good. But I think, especially in Europe and in the West, it's hard to kind of snowball the games really clean. Yeah, so I think it's hard.
I said a lot of negative things. I don't think that's the secret champ.
No.
Well,
I could just be saying that.
Myrwn, for you, the matchup versus Relevant is kind of, I've been, tracking Relevant's been interesting to me because this is a guy who was kind of like this underdog dark horse top laner for a long time, got super hyped up last year despite SK kind of having middling results, and now is having some back and forth performances. I know he was a monster in scrims on Jax. A lot of teams, I think, probably including you guys last year, although I can't recall exactly, banned his Jax. How do you feel about playing him? How do you feel about the level that he's shown so far this year?
I think all BDS is playing worse than last year. I don't know what happened, honestly, because I think they have better players. I think they just fit way worse altogether, and that's why the results don't really show. I think Irrelevant is good. For example, last year in SK, he was one of the best, if not the best, at least performing. So yeah, I'm excited to play into him. I think he always plays fine into me. So we will see what happens.
Yeah, I'm always a little unsure with the whole BDS thing at the moment. Because I feel like when I looked at BDS last year, it was, hey, we are a team that is going to set up on objectives well. We're going to play incredibly well around team fighting and looking at this. But when I looked at Irrelevant, I think he team fought very well on the Jax, but I didn't have him in my head as a phenomenal team fighter. And I think a lot of his picks even weren't exactly the most team fight heavy. They were more like, hey, I can win well in skirmishes or in the 1v1 and that kind of stuff. So I think for my looking at BDS, it feels like the team is trying to re-establish how they play the whole game, because the way that a lot of these players play doesn't fit into the system that BDS had last year. And I think even when you're looking at the champions, like the Cassante and stuff like that, he has played, but I haven't really been wowed by his Cassante. But it's been way more interesting, like the Gwen and those kind of things, where I'm like, oh yeah, you have a champion that's good in lane and great in skirmishes. That just feels like it ticks the box for him.
Yeah.
I think he's way better on the breezers rather than on tanks. Cassandra last split, I think he was playing way better. I think also for everyone, the swaps made the job way easier for Cassandra. Skipping lane, which wasn't that good, depends on the matchup, of course. I think it just made everyone be so chill on Cassandra, and then you reach team fights with 2 to 3 items and you're unkillable. So I think now that swaps are over, I think every tournament looks weaker on Cassandra, basically. Because you're actually you have to lane, for example, today I played the Aurora Cassandra, I just got the tower.
I was immediately.
I was doing this on cooldown to him, and at some point the tower fell.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, that was a very convincing series from you guys versus Team Heretics. Anna, if you could throw up the schedule one more time. I originally had a matchup pick, but I would just love to know from you guys. Here's the schedule behind you for next week. Is there a matchup where you think the result might surprise people of the ones that we have?
G2 Rogue. We already talked about it, but G2 Rogue.
You think Rogue is?
I'm not saying Rogue is gonna win, but in one of those days, maybe they just slept better. It could happen.
You are committed to the bit.
Yeah,
Respect to you. Respect to you, Myrwn.
It has to be or Rogue winning the split, or I can see the vitality of Fnatic, because I think vitality with the Nakanako game, it went really bad for them. And I think if Fnatic, after winning KC, maybe they just go a bit too cocky into the game, and it might just go really bad for them. So I think maybe that or Rogue.
Are Vitality a top 6 team? Do you think they're shooing for top 6? What do you think? They're a hard team for me to get a read on, because they've had really good games and really bad games, and that's kind of it. Whereas there's other teams who have struggled enough that I'm like, okay, it will be really rough for you to make playoffs. It's hard for me to get a read on Vitality.
The games I played into them, I think they're a top 6 team. But it's weird, because I think in officials they are playing a bit worse. I think they have to get... I think they just need some time to get used to. In the end, Niski just did a roll swap. And Naganako is a rookie, Chaik is a rookie. I think you need to give them a bit of time. And I'm pretty sure when they get more comfortable in official, they will show their real level. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they're a top 6 team.
It was really sad to watch Nako and the Akali Q buffer and then flash over the kill on yesterday. But I do think like Nako's sick. I think he's got some really good talent. And I think Chayek showed up really well too. It's just, I mean, if you get solo camped for a game 2 the entire way and you're just dying over and over again in Yasuo, I think the game becomes kind of unplayable. But like, I'm excited when this team actually does get their feet underneath them, because as you say, with the role swap, I think there's a lot there. But I don't know if they hit top 6. I think that's
tough.
Yeah. But if Fnatic lose to Vitality and SK after beating KC, that is going to be really funny.
That would be incredibly Fnatic, though.
Yeah,
That would be on
it'd be
brand,
so
though, right?
style.
Like, it's very believable. Like, you said some absolutely crazy stuff. This one is actually, this is very plausible. Like, I can see Vitality winning this series. So we'll just have to find out. Again, this is coming out Thursday, but Saturday, Sunday, Monday, as always, again, it's triple best of 3 starting on that Saturday. It's a 2 p.m. local time start, bright and early. But if you want to tune in for my personal favorite match of the week, MKOI versus BDS, that's Sunday, second set. No bias. I just think I think that's the most contentious matchup. I think all of the close games are on Sunday, unless you're JoJo and you think it's Rogue versus G2, which maybe you're right. Maybe your faith is the difference.
I mean, I'm just saying after they win, I'll find you and I'll just look at you.
I'll deserve it. I will deserve it. If you want to come for me with a flame, I will deserve it, because the faith has not been there, and I have definitely talked my shit. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for coming on after a long Monday. Congrats again on the duo over Heretics, and good luck for BDS.
Thank you.
Of course. This has been episode 7 of EUphoria here in the spring season. Don't forget to tune in this weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
See ya.